Hello, everyone. Friday night. How are you doing? My special guest tonight is Jennifer Collins. How are you doing, Jennifer?
I'm doing good. I'm just going to
Excellent.
tell everybody, I'm with Crypto Truth Seekers because I know some of the people know it, but some don't.
Some don't. And I'll put your hello, Kimberly. Your contact information there. Well, people know who you are. I mean, so it's
Most of
good. Yeah, most of them, yes. And we'll introduce you to those who don't.
them.
So, Miss Jennifer, how have you been?
I have been good. I have been busy. I told everybody on my show that there's been some shifts and changes. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do any videos, but I've just had to cut back a little bit.
Okay.
They're very time consuming, so
A lot of work. People don't realize it. It is a lot. Hello, Hidden Harvest. How are you doing?
it's fun
Rocker
though.
Chick, hello.
Hey,
Uh,
Rocker Chick.
Manifest Muse, good evening. Joe, hello. Judith. So I know people don't know this, but hello, Warrior Princess. Um, you actually caught a UFO today
I
on
did.
camera.
I did, and I sent you one of them. Actually, I sent one to Rocker Chick. She was trying to put it on her program to do some depth of lighting, but I did. It was here for about 5 minutes, and it was very apparent, even to her. She's right away. She's like, "Oh no, that's UFO."
I saw it and I was looking at it on my iPhone. So um,
Yeah, I'll see if I can upload it, but people have to watch it on the bigger screen because when I saw it, I could see the definitive disc and that it was metallic and shiny. But of course, when you do a video, it looks just, shiny. But what it was doing, Wayne, is there was an airplane below it and it was up higher. And when I first was, matter of fact, I was on the phone with Rocker Chick talking to her. And I said, Rocker Chick, I think I see a UFO. And it was like right in front of my place. It was going forward, then it went backwards, then it went sideways, and it was like zigzagging. And I go, Rocker Chick, I got to get off the phone because I can't do a video if I'm on. And so I began to film it. And at that point, there's a palm tree, and it would do this and then stop. Like it would dart and jet, and then it was like pulsating. And then you could see a branch here, and the next thing I know, it darted again. Like you can see at
I
least
saw
that much
that.
on, yeah,
Yeah.
at least that much on my video. And when it got to the other side, it stopped again, and then it went a little further, and then it stopped for literally another minute on the video that I took. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm not going to sit here and film it forever, but I'm going to watch it for a while. And what happened was when I turned the camera off, the light went out, came on one more time, and then it kind of like went up, and it was like, it was gone, out of sight.
They're watching. Hi, Suji. How are you doing? Brian,
Hi,
good to
Sue.
see you. Chris. So this leads kind of into the topic for tonight. You and I've talked during the week. I've done a number of programs this week, and all these programs, they have a purpose behind them. But it seems like, Jennifer, we as a species, I think we're heading for something. And today, I think, was a good example. Look what happened today. Let's see. We started out with a guy going off the deep end in one of Trump's properties.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have this incident that happened in Texas, in which that happened about 10 miles from where I grew up.
Wow.
Another tragedy. And then we have the 737 in Cuba that went down. And it just seems to be that, I don't know, it just seems like today was a day of a lot of violence.
Well, and even my daughter Sandra, when I was talking to her, she goes, Mom, there's just something. There's like she was feeling something today. It is the 18th of May, and an 8 and 1 is a 9, so it's a 9 day. And I think I mentioned on a video last month, um, Mayday, that I said, guys, something's going to be going on in May. And I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that something was going to start happening. I feel a difference. You and I, like you said, we've talked a couple times this week, and straight across the board, I've been getting phone calls from a lot of my friends and other even life coaches and people that I know that are saying shift is happening. There's like something going on. And it's definitely unusual feeling, Wayne,
That's
right
a good
now.
word. It's a shift. And I don't know if these are becoming now in like waves. I think that's what's happening. Next week, I believe it will be, we're going to have a person that you sent me her video.
Yep.
And I have to say, Sydney, if you're listening, I saw her video, and it's the first time that I believe, as I wrote to her, that I've actually seen this Mandela effect happening.
Real time.
Real
Yeah.
time.
And anybody that is not a part, I have Crypto Truth Seekers Facebook. And so things that I don't talk about, that I get updates or information that I don't get a chance to hop on. It's a Facebook group. It's Crypto Truth Seekers Facebook group. But I posted that video on there. It's 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was the most amazing one I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen the changes after the fact, but this one is in real time. And I think that's why you jumped on the bandwagon. And I was like, yay, Wayne, because you have a lot more subscribers and the word needs to get out.
I'm going to show this. I've been in video for 20 years, and this was the first evidence that you can actually document, as Sydney took the time and was cognitive enough to realize what was taking place, which tells me this is a reality that is ever changing, ever morphing. And it appears that we can be conscious of the effect, but not be directly impacted by it.
It's ongoing, Wayne. And I sometimes wonder if all the booms that are heard across the world that have increased, including, I believe there's one in Cincinnati or somewhere on the East Coast, where they're getting it so often that they're like, okay, guys, we need to figure out what this is, that the police department needs to. And they are literally light flashes and booms. And I think you and I have talked about this. We went from the outer arm of the Sagittarius Milky Way galaxy in closer to Orion. And whether that has anything to do with these shifts in dimension and reality and time affecting the atmosphere and kind of the plates wherever they are, or what's going on, Wayne, but there is some crazy things happening.
There are.
Even did you see a video where they call them the reindeer, and I think they're up somewhere towards the North Pole. In these pens, the whole herd of them are going round and round in circles, like they're just, in each of these pens, round and round. Birds have been flying round and round in circles, or dropping out of the sky. Whales have been beached, 30 of them. Then there was the dolphins. We can all agree, if nothing else, that in the last year, there has been more historical weather changes. My aunt on the East Coast in Maryland said her whole life, born there, grew up there, has never seen it rain solidly for 6 days and flood as much as it's flooding in Maryland.
There's a lot happening. When you were talking about the animals, read a story this week in Tulsa about a pack of dogs that were domesticated. And get this, 3 of them were dachshunds that attacked a woman and mauled her. Now, these are domesticated canine. And when you think about the little wiener dogs suddenly becoming vicious, something is going on. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. Wild animals are coming up like they're rabid, or they're like zombies. I mean, there's been that documentation. And Linda Moulton Howe has had on her channel how in Southern Oregon, birds are disappearing, like they are not seen. Like, where are they going? Something's going on. Their compass is off, Wayne. Could be somewhat due. And I forgot to tell you this, Wayne, and I think it was a few months ago. Remember when I called you about a magnetic pole shift and then you got out your really expensive compass? It happened again. I think it was yesterday or day before. I felt the same thing. Took out my compass and I'm like, okay, I'm getting used to it. So there is changes going on right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's getting, I believe, more intense. I'm just convinced of it. And I would not be surprised if we begin to see seismic activity much more intense on the West Coast. It's happening already up in Alaska. They got a couple of those candlesticks starting to smoke up there. So things are starting to happen.
Well, and I heard from somebody that Hawaii, where the volcano's going off, like, the Mother Earth, that Hawaii is actually the navel. And so something in the naval area on the planet. And there are fault lines if there's earthquakes that go all the way to the West Coast. And so now they're possibly expecting there's something going on in this naval area of the Earth.
So this kind of leads me. Hello, Sandra. How are you doing? Seven Serpents.
Hey,
What? There's so many people in here. I've been thinking this week. I did a video on prophecy. And I contend, and I did it on my radio show last night, even in more depth, that prophecy is merely predetermination, right?
Yeah.
If you believe in prophecy, you're making a prediction. What you're saying is that the historical event is going to happen. And no matter what you do to alter it, it's going to happen. I have a question for you, my dear. And with the chat room, I'd like to get someone's honest opinion on this. And here's the epiphany that hit me last night on my radio show. We got this thing called the Book of Revelation, right? I mean, I grew up on a thing. If you lived in America, chances are you did in Europe and South America. And really, the Book of Revelation is about a book of death. It's about the mass murder of how many sapiens we don't know. But here's the odd thing. Jennifer, we've got the playbook. Why the hell are we allowing it to come to pass to begin with?
That's a very good question. Okay, so I'll give you some, that is so funny because I actually was thinking about this the other day and had some notes. That is a very good question, Wayne, because, and I'll think of where I put my notes on that too, because I'm writing them down as they come to me. So it must be in the collective because I got those type of thoughts too the other day of figuring that out. Because you think of Nostradamus, he was predicting the future, which means, has it already played out? Is it going to play out in the exact way that it is saying? And we do have the playbook. It's a code book. And so one of my theories is that the elite have known this long before the book was ever given to us. They've had so much time to study certain things and figure out way more than we could. And so they've had this playbook for a long time, and it is a very good possibility that it really takes somebody that is born here to activate and work those codes, so that to us it seems like it's going to happen no matter what, and we can see what's going to happen, but the codes are there for them to be able to activate it. If you really think about it, when things happen that they say is predestined, it's because somebody ended up doing what was in that code book.
Bingo.
And it's such an illusion, Wayne. It is an illusion, and that's what they want us to think. And there are a few that are doing it, and it is a matrix. And if you go back to that movie, The Matrix, with everything, there's so many mind coituses in there, but really, honestly, the people that weren't a part of the matrix were the ones that were asleep to these gods. Like, they were not giving them power. So if you awaken to them and then you give them power, then the elite that have the codes that are trying to work out the predictive program, that's all that it is. It's like a predictive program. They're trying to work it out, and they're trying to get us on board with the energy to feed into it so that it's not only probable, but it's going to happen then.
It's very interesting because that comes down to then we have to ask ourselves, and this is an intellectual conversation. I hope everyone in the chat room, this is a time for us to exchange ideas. By the way, I'm working out the details on this, but I'm also going to be having a guest. Tony is what I'll give you right now. In fact, one of the subscribers recommended, and this person is going to blow everyone's mind. But so what you just described, and I like particularly the Matrix 2, because that's where it really all comes down to where the architect. And the architect, as we all remember, he told Neo, he said, well, we can't get the program right. You know, he said, we've tried thousands and millions of versions where we gave you everything you wanted.
Then he can't be a god, Wayne, the archetype. And yeah. I'm gonna tell you why. If he is all powerful, and if he was the creator, which I do believe that there are some deities, some archons that set up the matrix, but if they were the ones that created everything into existence for it even to happen, the elements, the photons, then would that creator be able to create a weapon that could kill himself with? Can you answer? Huh?
That's what you would have to get into debate on that.
If he can, then he's not all powerful. And if he can't, then he's not all powerful.
Well, there's the conundrum. So getting back to what the architect said, that every program, every version continues to fail. So do you know what the definition of belief is? I'll give you the definition of belief. And here is one of the keys, folks. Belief is defined as being convinced something is true without the proof it is true.
That's like faith or something, right?
Exactly the same thing.
Okay.
And that's what our species blindly have done over and over and over again. And here's what's happened to us. I finished chapter 1 of my book, and it's getting where now it's starting to flow. Here's what I have observed for being on this planet, that my time that has been given, now approaching 23,000 days. And in the 5,000th day of my awakening, I am now realizing something about sapiens. And this is what sapiens, and this is our flaw. We must be dominated by that which we cannot see. We are in a prison cell that has been designed from birth. And no matter how much you and I and others try to begin to awake others, there are those who are going to stay in their prison cell, because the thing about this prison cell, it has no doors. But yet, we as a species will not traverse across the threshold of freedom.
Well said, Wayne. I mean, that's a definitely very deep thought right there. Is it kind of like the elephant that was a baby elephant that had a chain, and then when it got bigger, it realized that it didn't realize it could break the chain and kind of break free or whatever? And
I think that this is why we revert to this, and I'll just be very candid with you, this concept of God, that somehow or another God is in control, and that somehow or another our lives, regardless, and this is what I really have a problem with. I hear people all the time saying, well, we have free will. Jennifer, if we have free will, we wouldn't be here. And more importantly, if we did in fact have free will, I believe we would see a lot more freer minds than we do.
Well, and we might have had free will, but we have some amnesia because we don't know what we knew before. And so one of the universal laws is that they have to allow free will, and anything that comes against it is actually breaking the universal laws. So if you want to go back to what you said, which I like what you said about, the show that you did on predestined
Prophecy,
or
yeah.
knowledge or whatever.
Yeah.
So really, then this supposed God or deity has broken. Ignorance is not a virtue.
See that, folks? Everyone in the chat room, everyone watching, they see this. Ignorance is not a virtue. Ignorance is the only sin. All right, go on. I'll stop.
I love it. I love it, Wayne. You're so wonderful.
We digressed. I'm sorry. I got you completely off track.
No. It's all good. You know, we're just having fun here, and we're contemplating. But
we are,
you know,
because this is what it is. We got coffee and tea, and this is what we talk about. You know, this is what
coffee,
philosophy
tea,
does.
Wayne, and me.
There you go. And that makes 3.
All right.
And along with 146 of our closest friends.
Right.
So
Wayne, you know, I think that it went against the universal law of freedom. I think that ultimately we were given freedom. We were given divine rights, and they hijacked it. And I think you told me that when I told you bingo on the phone the other day, or it was this morning. I was like, bingo, Wayne, I think you got that one. They hijacked the true freedom, and now they want to control the predictive programming.
Yes.
So it's not the ultimate one. It's
and that's the mind coitus here.
But we agreed to it.
Yeah.
We have all collectively been either ignorant, like, you know, which is not a virtue, or we've been deluded, or we've tricked. Maybe even tricked was the word. We've been tricked into agreeing with that system.
And the thing about it is that gets me, why don't we hear someone standing up in the pulpits of all the churches, all the synagogues, all the mosques, and say, whoa, time out, folks. Listen, they're telling us, this God's telling us that the end, a lot of people are going to die. Now, the mind coitus is that you think you got the golden ticket, but let me finish on this. Why aren't they saying, let's not let this ever happen? Let's change the rules on the God who made this happen. Us sapiens are going to take responsibility for our future. Why does there have to be a revelation?
Well, it goes back to what you said many times on many shows that, you know, they're under the God spell, Wayne.
They are.
So the only way this God could actually bring something to pass, which, by the way, it's taking him around 2,000 years, he hasn't been able to accomplish it.
Well, talk to the Jewish people.
Right. He's not. And so he's not that powerful. He hasn't even been able to accomplish complete takeover. But
well, I think I know where Alzheimer's came from, because if you read in Genesis chapter 6 in the book of Enoch, this cat didn't realize our species was being raped. Oh, you know, he's like, oh, and I'm going, yeah, oh, hey, what about us? You're God. Anyway.
Exactly. They're only gods. Listen, Wayne, I told you this earlier, so I'm going to tell all of your audience the same thing. You have to be on this planet and be a human kind of to be a god in this matrix, so they have to work through humans. Yeah. And so the Pope is a god to those millions and millions of people that stand at the crowd with one person. That's like a godlike attribute. Hitler was like a god trying to conquer and had a bunch of people following him, you know? And so the pastor, if you put yourself under a church, he is now like God to you. Moses was told, you're going to be God to the people, because that God can't be God unless there's somebody that he can teach, first of all, through divination, teach, and then possess that person some way to give them something, because nobody else was Hitler. Hitler was Hitler. I mean,
he was.
We could try to be like Hitler if we wanted to be nefarious or something, but I highly doubt we could, because they choose who they want to teach and possess, and then that person becomes a god, you know. And the system, anybody becomes a god. That it means to me ruler. So the gods walk among us. Now, there have been gods in the past. If you look at the statues that were made, I believe that they were human too, and there were some good ones, but you don't see them as much because they didn't make an impact on history trying to conquer, trying to overtake everything. So I would say that is how that works. And then you were just saying something, and I was trying to find a note because it was so funny, Wayne, when you and I've talked a couple times this week. I'm like, we're feeding off each other because I'm getting things and didn't know what you were thinking about, and you were already contemplating it. But there were two men. Oh, here it is. John Dee and Edward Kelly. One was into white magic, one was into black magic, and they were working with the elements. And that's a whole nother thing later on. But anyways, they were able to predict time and events. One of them predicted Queen Mary, or one of the aristocrats' death right to the day, using astrology and other things, predicted her death. She, kind of wanted to have them killed. So, so anyways, they have to connect and put their power and energy with this. This is why I tell people, be very, very careful what you hear, what you see, and what you connect with. And so there were these great watchers, and they were called Chronizin. They were these huge beings that were watching this gate of the apocalypse. It's like a gate of darkness. And these men wanted to open that gate, just like people are saying CERN is trying to do it. It's the proverbial Pandora's box. And so one of them had lust for power, and the other one was just wanting to do things and was trying to heal people and helping to heal. And people that are wanting the power on the wrong side, Wayne, they end up going crazy, they end up going mad, or something happens to their life. But he was at this gate, and they believe, I was doing some research, that they opened up this gate and let a lot more of the floods of these archons in. And this is now why this program is speeding up more. And this was in 1582. And it like opened up to let more come in and start doing their working on people. They can't do it without people, Wayne.
I agree.
They cannot sit up there and go, this is going to happen in 2000, 9/11 is going to happen or whatever. They can't do that without knowing that they have all of their pawns in place to then tell somebody, I can make this happen because I've got enough people that I'm influencing here to cause that to happen, a causation. Does that make sense? Anyways, go ahead.
It does, because if you go back to 1514, what did Martin Luther accuse the church of doing? He accused the church of basically practicing black magic. Mass is a ritual of black magic. And so I find it really interesting that you have the great schism, the great divide. At the same time, then you have the two gentlemen that you were just talking about, that time and time again, I have a library rich with a lot of black magic books. I don't tell people about them. I'll never do any stories on it because some people can't handle it. But the deal is that there is the ability for our species to somehow or another be a conduit, a medium for that transference of energy.
Right on. And the looking glass that they have.
Yeah, over to area S4.
If things go in a direction a certain way, then when you look into that glass, here's the predicted outcome because it's going in that way ahead of time. And it knows, Wayne, it does have a knowledge because of the network that it has.
All right, JH, what you have to say? I see you over here. So what do you want to say? She's got her. Can you see that?
Her hand up. No, yeah, I don't see the chat room.
Okay, sorry. She's got her hand up. So
go ahead. Let's see what they have to say because they can join in for sure.
Yeah, go ahead, JR. Just go ahead, JH, and write. And when I see it come up, we'll talk to it.
When they know something far enough in advance, I mean, they have been programming people, Wayne, over and over and over centuries and generations, programming them to know how to manipulate certain individuals for their agenda. And, you know, that's a theory, but I mean, it's
April, that'd be fine. Just email me. That would be easier. Get my email. It's on the contact here, and love to be on your radio show. All right. So Sandra just made a point that magic is neither black or white. I happen to agree with that. In fact, Sandra, I'm glad you brought that up to add to our conversation, Jennifer, and I'm watching here to make sure if something comes up here, is this. You see, I think that the true creator is just that. It's not good or evil.
neutral. Right, Wayne. And I think I know where she's coming from. It has to do with intent. So it is neither good nor bad. It is neither black nor white. It's the intent. But we can see the effects of the bad intent or the dark energy intent that's going on. Come on, watch, somebody comes up and puts a gun to your head and then shoots you.
Well, I've got a better example. So you've got the simple science experiment that you can do. You get a hold of electrified fence. I know this sounds crazy, but if you have 5 people that are standing on buckets, plastic, wood, or whatever, they can hold hands to the guy who's touching the live wire on the fence, and no one's going to get shocked.
Right.
Now, here's the weird thing. The one guy that's standing on the ground, because he's now grounded, will shock everyone down the line. And I think that that's so what often happens, that, energy is not good or bad.
It's neutral. You're right. Yeah. It's how I mean, if you're an energy drainer and a vampire and all that type of stuff to somebody else, it's negative energy towards them. So it's just taking energy and using it. So yeah, I would agree. It is neither good nor bad. It's how you intend to use it.
Yeah, it's like the neutron that walked into the bar, and the bartender came up and gave him a drink, and the neutron said, "How much is it?" He says, "To you, no charge."
Oh, jeez.
All right, come on, folks. We just got to relax a little bit here. You
got to wake everybody up, right? See
if they're it's a little intense. I mean,
thinking.
Like, Jesus. We got to lighten it up, folks. I mean,
you know what I say? No charge for the comic act from Wayne.
Exactly. That's very good. Very good. As I once told people, I said, when I realized I was starting to lose my hair, and I said, but I know the cause. And they said, what was that? I said, I had a receding hairline. Well, you see all the rabbits dancing backwards, right, Sandra? Can you picture that? A receding hairline? H-A-R-E. There we go. Or, as I often tell the people that are going bald, that's all right. You have wavy hair. It's just waving goodbye. So, there we go. That is my comedy routine this week, and that was.
What else do you have for us, Wayne?
Oh well,
Next.
it's the whole thought that so before we came on, I was basically meditating, and the thought occurred to me. So this is completely off what we were talking, but yet related.
Okay.
What they have found in the Martian atmosphere is what they call Xenon 129, Z129. And Xenon 129 can only be produced when there is a nuclear explosion. So I began to think about this. You have 2 sides of the debate. You have the one side of the debate, let's just say more on a religious ideology, dogma, that the earth is much younger than what you have science saying in its theory.
I believe that.
It's not fact. It's just, you will find it's all geologists will give you estimations using carbon-14. Yeah. So I began to think, now I have seen a patch of ground that was heavily sprayed, chemical, et cetera, et cetera. And 3 or 4 years later, the Earth has recovered from that.
Oh,
Now, let
wow.
me expand on this. What if both sides are wrong, but actually are more correct? That maybe our perception of time has been altered to see things both condensed and expanded, not focusing on the fact that maybe our history is probably somewhere in the middle, which means that events that we think are in the ancient past were really just in the recent past.
Yeah, or we're trying to go back to the beginning.
Well, no, I speak of specifically, I keep asking my audience that, folks, let's stop and ask the question, what is the asteroid belt?
Exploded planet that
It has to have been a planet. Now, some astrophysicists will tell you, well, there's not enough mass to make a planet. But now we're defining planets is not necessarily, you could have a planet, let's say, that's 3 times the size of our moon. It would still be able to sustain life.
Right.
Where the asteroid belt is still in our Goldilocks zone. So what if there was a galactic war in our solar system, and I'm talking about 10,000 years ago?
Well, it seems to be the theme in a lot of the cultures, Wayne, kind of straight across the board. The names have changed and the characters a little bit, but it's kind of the same story that's rolled out where,
that
there's been battles down here on this planet with Homo sapiens.
So, yes, indeed. And to bring to this point, I read today in one of the newspapers that octopus are now not of this planet.
I saw that on Security's program.
Yeah, it was in fact, it was in the Financial Times. And
wow.
So it's in the Financial Times because you know why it's in the Financial Times?
Why is that?
Well, if these creatures have the ability to edit their DNA and then transfer the DNA over into the RNA, where they then re-edit it more, the DNA is immune from any type of gene mutation.
Yeah, and they're also saying octopuses are very intelligent. I mean,
smarter than us.
They, and isn't it funny? They kind of have that tall cone head, like some of these depictions of alien beings having the taller head.
So what if they're hiding out? Listen, we have to think about this. I'm thinking if the good guys are really the good guys, that something happened and we get our myths and all of our religious stories, and you're right, they're intertwined through them all, that maybe the good guys are waiting for reinforcements and they've had to hide out in another life form right underneath our own faces.
And you might be right, Wayne. I mean, that is one theory. I mean, it's very possible that there are timelines and they have to wait for a certain. Also, the sky clock. I mean, before we had time here, the sky was our clock, and they probably followed the sky clock. And maybe they have a different code book than we do here with the Bible and some of these other tablets and books that say things. Maybe they have a completely different idea that they're going, hey guys, something great is going to happen one of these times, but you guys might not see it right now, but you got to kind of just.
All right. So let me plant this little thought into everyone's minds. So, you know what radio telescopes are, right? Because you have a lot of them out there in Arizona.
Yeah, it's Speaking of that, it's even hot today. It's getting hotter.
Yeah. Actually, it's very cold here. It really
Oh
cooled off.
no, I just started breaking out in a sweat because
Yeah. See, I
it's
got
a
long
day.
sleeves, and anyway.
Yeah, no, I want a little igloo right next to me would be great. And I don't want to turn on the air conditioner. It's going to make a lot of noise, but
So
go ahead.
here's a thought. So when you have radio telescopes that are linked, you can now begin to link, and they already are doing this in other countries. And then you get this really big array. All right. So in order to have a big enough array that where we could hear and see the furthest points out into the cosmos, what are we doing? In essence, what we're doing is that we're trying to receive a signal at the same time sending a signal. Now, I told you today that I did a video called Checkmate, and I did another one, We Are Worshiping What? And I told you the reason why you can't believe in what I call the religious gods is this. We've invented a God that's even more powerful than that. Any God of the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, any of it. Right. And that is that we've created this thing called the internet. And it's got our devotion of nearly 7.5 billion sapiens, full time, 24/7. It's never without devotion. Now, I contend that when I used to pray, that all prayer is in actuality telepathic communications.
Wow, I see where you're going. Okay.
So when we get together to pray together, we are basically joining antennas that where for a brief time, our telepathic links are all coming together to focus in. Now, the problem why most of the time it doesn't work is that because the amplitude of the signal is not strong enough. So hear me on this. What would happen if we were to have, say, the Sapien Summit, where we brought everyone together and said, listen, instead of praying, what we want to do is to send a telepathic prayer signal, prayer, call it what you want, in a unified fashion. Send an SOS. What if it's just that? You know, the thing about 5G, it's a dampening field. We know as well that in the ionosphere, there is another dampening field. The other thing that we know, which I still haven't quite had anyone explain to me, how do we get away from the Van Allen radiation belt? Because, see, it's around our planet, and that is a dampening field.
There's more than that, Wayne, out there than that.
Well, I know. You know some of this. You see where I'm going with this?
And I don't think people are ready to hear all of this that way, but I see where you're going, so I'm going to let you continue with that. But we've had so many attempts, our species, maybe our fellow cousins, extended family, whether they were the Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnons, how far ever it goes back. What if that's the problem? Because you know something? You see, my idea of the creator is this. If there is compassion, then compassion would be shown forth. But our species is getting our butts kicked down here. And we've been getting our butts kicked for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We don't do anything different. But yet we will argue with one another. We will backstab. We will kill each other in defense of nothing more than a belief. Yeah, and until they get in tune with their divinity and until they rise above it and actually connect with our other family in the other dimension that are there to help us.
If I could find the hackers that would do this, you know, we would hack literally into the net and then implant a signal that would be able to communicate to every sapien on the planet, that when they're looking at their electronic device, and it would basically be something very subliminal, like SOS. And that when we have that day where we declare our sovereignty and our declaration, that we would be able to unite for one, however long it would be, unite 7.5 billion thoughts, and then we send a signal. Go ahead.
Okay.
You want to talk? Yeah, I can see it. It's like,
well, Wayne.
Go ahead.
Just as being a scientific, intuitive, psychic person that I am with some of my logic,
yeah,
every person that has tried to get on their knees or pray out or cry out with all earnest, and it does reach those levels. Joseph Smith got an encounter with an alien being saying he was, God.
Marconi, yeah.
Okay, and many others have literally then manifested out of desperation of SOS, because he said, I think all the churches are screwed up and they're all, that's really what Joseph Smith was originally thinking. He was like, they're in confusion, they're fighting, they don't agree. What is the truth? What is the truth? What is the truth? And I believe with all of his being, he probably did.
I think so too. I mean, people say today.
Lie.
Yes.
He got a lie. So what makes us think if we bring gazillions of people there? Because you know why? The truth is in here that we can know. And when they get to the universe inside and conquer themselves and sit down, like they said to Alexander the Great, you can conquer the world easier, but sit down and see if you can conquer yourself.
Oh, yes.
Inside, every answer is in there. We should not be looking. We can get help from out here to process and to connect with.
So what you're saying then is that we would transfer that signal not to outside,
right,
but channel it. Well, that would kind of make sense, because think about that. If you had that approach, I love this. See, this is why we talk. That you could then, that would be a powerful jolt to Gaia, Mother Earth. And
they would also be up there clapping and going, they're getting it.
Well, that may be exactly, you see.
Because you know the truth before, if you really are honest with yourself, nobody can even pull the wool over your eyes. If you honestly don't put on your blinders, don't get rid of the predictive programming and go through kind of, where you reactivate your DNA, where you reactivate your pineal gland, all of this other stuff is included in it, and whatever it takes to peel off like layers of an onion to get to where you just know the truth about everything when you need to, not all knowing and all seeing, but whatever you need to know, you will just know it.
So while you were talking, I had this image that was transferred to me. This is what I believe we're heading for, is the ability as a species to sit amongst ourselves, and I mean literally, as a species, and begin to create that which we have so much desired.
Now that you can do at the sapien thing for sure. Just get everybody in collectively putting the truth. That, and honestly, Wayne, when you and I talk and certain things that are truthful, we both click with it. And then other things that we're just talking theory and philosophy, we might agree or disagree, because
that's
we're not that perfect with our knowing, but we can get there.
We can. People sometimes get a little wrapped around the axle in some of my videos. The ball series, the most bizarre thing. I mean, the first one, Introduction to Ball, it's gotten over 100,000 views. And I'm still going, why? But anyway, the point is that we learn through the exchange of ideas. And that's why I love debating.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm right. I'm just taking a position.
Well, a lot of your videos, a lot of your shows, Wayne, are constantly showing the fact that we have been putting our thoughts in, finding the truth outside of ourselves and in worship.
Yes.
trying to find a God that'll give us the answer, trying to cry out with every. We've tried that many times over the centuries. Many people have. Even the John Dees and the Aleister Crowleys and all these people, Hubbard, all of these people, always trying to find the truth out here.
Yeah, finding it in some deity, some invisible deity. And then, like you were saying, with Joseph Smith, those others who have actually been visited,
They're led astray.
It's like, okay, you often ask yourself, why didn't they just freak out?
You know, when you're a child, and if you have kind of a somewhat of a healthy family, when you're little, they relate to you a little bit differently. But as you grow up in your knowledge, you can connect with them, and there's this symbiotic understandings. I think that they're waiting for us to quit being babies.
Yes.
And to quit drooling and quit looking for parents and quit looking for, something to take care of us and help us and all this stuff. But when we get this truth, then they can expound on it and go, aha, my son, you've gotten this. Let me help you understand even more. And they can do it that way once we connect. And it's just like you and I having a conversation.
Yes.
Neither one of us is wanting worship, and neither one of us is saying, well, I know everything and you need to listen to me. But we all of a sudden start feeling the energy of the truth that's going on.
And that's what I think people have a lot of hard time about, Jennifer, is that energy. It's tangible. Now, I can tell you, growing up in the Pentecostal, I was the one of, the Word of Faith movement. That's why they were on to something. They knew that by speaking something and adding belief behind it, you can do things. You really can.
Yeah,
there can be healings taking place.
Absolutely.
You can see what we would define as miracles. It's not that there's some God up there doing it. We're doing it. We're creating it.
We activated it through the
exactly. It's the activation that we all have. I'm recovered from pneumonia. You had a heck of a bout of the flu earlier this year.
Right.
I still talk to my body the whole time. And, I'm telling you, I've recovered quicker, faster. And I think it's because I've learned a principle.
You're the God of your universe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you know what? Now that you bring that up, I had somebody bring this to my attention. I don't know why I didn't even think about it. Talking about the flu, talking about pneumonia, talking about virus.
Yes.
I challenge anybody that's listening right now, and all of us, to go Google what a virus looks like, and all you're going to get is cartoon avatars of viruses, not one photo of a real virus. Therefore, they do not exist, Wayne. But if your energy and your emotions and, being an ex-naturopathic doctor and the metaphysical healing, we can create things, or things can come into our lives that start looking like a virus. You can't find one legitimate picture of a virus. They look like cartoon. They actually
very interesting. They do. They have the little five-legged thing that walks across.
They've got microscopic things of our cells and certain things, and maybe parasites and stuff like that, but not a true virus. And I'm not sure, Wayne, but I'm not saying that this is positive. I mean, I cannot teach this like it is law, but I think that we've been deceived about viruses, because you catch a cold. That means you have to also be aligned with that cold to even catch it. Because I went 7 years, and everybody around me that would get sick, and I'd lay next to them 102, 103 temperature, or even my children when they were younger, and I would not get sick until you get beaten down, your immune system gets beaten down, and you're no longer the God of the reality of your immune system in your life.
I like this.
Manifest.
We've got to get more into this whole thing about teaching people to love their bodies.
Yes.
It's so odd because we all speak, and here people are writing, tapping away, and that's a form of communication. You and I are speaking verbally.
And they need to speak to their water before they drink it, because water is programmable. And if
Now that I happen to believe.
Instead of changing water into the blood of Jesus or grapefruit juice or anything like that and drinking, the communion and looking again for an outside help to heal us, if you program that water before you drink it to do what it needs to do to bring the healing, if you look at the crystals that were cursed and told, I hate you, you're horrible, blah, 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 and there was confusion and chaos at that Oriental guy did, I forgot his name, and the ones where he was saying love and peace and health, you will, and our bodies are 70% water.
Mm-hmm.
Change the water molecules that'll help everything in every cell in your body to have more life, speaking to your water.
And do you know that Hollywood, again, you and I were talking today about the writers, that think about this, folks.
Hollywood?
What happened to Ghostbusters? The second one was exactly that. Remember the goo?
Yeah, that green goo.
Yeah, I like it where Dan Aykroyd said, "You're not sleeping with it, are you?" But the fact is, that goo is us. It's our emotions.
Wait a minute, Wayne. Are you saying we're slimy?
Oh, are you kidding? Some of my best friends are slimes.
Oh my goodness.
But going on to a more higher level. So as we were talking, how is it that these writers in Hollywood seem to be tapped into something that is not natural? Or maybe it is natural, but it seems to be supernatural in the way that they're able to communicate. I still like the sunglasses, Jackie.
Well, you said Hollywood, and I was outside.
I got you.
I came in here. I'm like, I'm just going to grab my friend.
Exactly.
Well,
got the look on.
All I have to say is I think they have some code books. And then they took some psychedelic drugs so that they could meet some of these beings and watch things play out in their minds.
I knew it. That's Seth Rogen. He had it right. When they made the movie Paul, that's what it is. It's the little green guys that are giving them all the whole things. I mean, you think about talkies, movies came about in the 30s, but it really didn't take place. Hollywood and the golden age started there in the late 30s and the 40s. Then you get the Roswell thing. Oh, which, by the way, isn't it odd that Roswell is on the 33rd degree latitude line? What else is on the 33-degree parallel line? Oh,
Arizona, actually, probably near where the UFO went by that I saw. Mount
Hermon.
Oh, yeah, Mount Hermon. Oh, speaking of that God in the Old Testament, he was
there. It is again.
The mountain, the desert, and he had spacecraft. But Hollywood, holly from the holly tree and the brand, and it's kind of a magical wand.
Oh yes, it is. Hello, Harry Potter. And I find it interesting when you look at this from a anthropology point of view, that how we teach ourselves. I mean, you look what J.J. Rowling's did.
That's true.
She did more than any one person in the spiritual movement in the last 200-300 years of bringing magic to the forefront of a generation that is yet today. They're in their 30s and they still think about magic.
That's true.
Wow. Think about this.
And I think Disney did a lot of magical movies too. A lot of
yeah.
A lot of implication, about it.
The whole thing about his life, the man, financial ruin, and then lo and behold, overnight, he gets a complete reversal from the politicians. as though they were, how shall we say, motivated or persuaded. Maybe it was predestination.
We're the only ones down here that can conjure up things, Wayne. Humans.
There you go. Well, this hour has gone by like that. This is time travel. No doubt.
It was fun.
Well, thank you, everyone. You want to come back again?
Thank you, Wayne. I'll be ready for another trip after a while.
Yeah, love to have you. We got to have you back on. And, hello, Brenda Fisher. How are you? Look at that. 33 is the number of vertebrate we have. Yeah. This is so weird. If we could only get it's like a fine-tuned race car. I like F1 racing. Of course, each one of those cars cost nearly $10 million to actually get. But the point is this, Jennifer, the day is going to forthcome when we're going to get it right. We're going to get all the cylinders hitting at the same time. And when we do, baby, woo! All I got to say.
Somebody stop me. No.
Far out. All right. Hi, Brenda. Hey, I've got to get you on sometime. By the way, Milky Way Weekly. Brian's going to do a show, I think, right after this. I'm going to get Brian on and Sue. We just need to have a good round table discussion. Love the energy of Brian and Sue, and get people like, hey, Rocker Chick, we can get you on, and anyone else who would love to come on, send me. Maybe we can just have a nice little. I'd like to see about a dozen people.
I like the panel discussions. We all have something to add to it.
And we can do this in a fashion to where there's a moderator, and so all right.
Time out. No. Pass the baton.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Have a great night. Tomorrow night, I am going to be over on the Forbidden Knowledge channel at 8:30 his time, 7:30 my time. So check him out. And then on Sundays, Jeff Doherty and I do our Not Your Normal Sunday Morning program, which will be an hour delayed. Okay. And make sure to go over to Jennifer's YouTube channel. And that one is Crypto Truth Seekers, right?
Yeah, Crypto Truth Seekers with an S at the end. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
The reason why I didn't put it in there because I wasn't sure on that. So we'll put that in the contact. Subscribe to her channel. Jennifer has some very, very poignant and fluid moments that help us all. Help me. I mean, it's the same thing with Sandra D. I mean, this community is growing. What the freak is going on?
That's true.
All right, folks, we won't hold you up anymore. Have a great weekend. Jennifer, stay on.
Love to everybody in the community.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Jennifer, stay on as I click us out of here.
Okay.